Hi everyone, so welcome to Handling History Series Episode 2, and the question for today is how to answer reliability questions. This is a slightly more challenging skill because it's taught at Sec 2, but it's okay, let's jump straight into it. So some question types are, is this source reliable in showing XXX? There's always something that they are very specifically asking for, so you always have to answer to the question when they're asking you if it's reliable in showing XXX, answer to X and not Y. For example, if let's say they ask you how is this source reliable in showing the conditions of people living under Japanese rule, you have to answer to the matter, which is living conditions under Japanese rule. Now, how do you answer this? Firstly, make an inference based on the source, and you can actually check out my previous video, which is how to make inferences or how to answer inference questions. And you must always keep in mind you have to answer pertaining to the matter asked. And then after that, you do a reliability evaluation based on the source's content. And how do you do it? You can use SOLAR. And if let's say you don't know what SOLAR is, you can check out my previous video also, how to make inferences, how to answer inference questions. Yeah, and then you can use SOLAR as one of your criteria for evaluating reliability based on source content. Next, you have to cross-refer to another source or cross-refer to your CK. So when cross-referring to another source, you don't have to say that the source you're cross-referring to is reliable, because the teachers will have assumed you trust this source and because you learn history, right? So using your historian skills, you were able to deduce that the source is reliable. But this doesn't mean that you can use an unreliable source, since you don't have to justify that source that you're using is reliable, because if you use an unreliable source, it's just going to degrade your argument. After you cross-refer to your another source or your CK, you can cross-refer to your CK or another source. So basically, you have two choices: another source for cross-referring or your CK. Sometimes if let's say the sources are not rich enough, you can cross-refer both times to your CK, but you have to cross-refer twice. I will be making a video about LOMS, which is the level of response marking scheme, which will kind of show what is expected of a very high grade answer in one of my next videos, so do look out for it. And during then I'll explain to you why we have to do two cross-referencings. Okay, so when you cross-refer to your CK, you must remember to be specific. Time and space, what year, where is very important in history. And then you must always keep in mind, what inference are you checking? This inference that I'm talking about is this. So you use CK that supports or refutes this inference that you're checking, not any CK. So you have to make sure that it's specific and you know exactly what you're gonna do. You don't plug things out from nowhere. Yeah, and you also don't use random CK that does not support your argument, because you won't be awarded for it. And then the last step is reliability based on purpose or source provenance. So essentially, that is doing inference of purpose again. So actually, inference questions are your foundation. So if you're not sure how to do inference of purpose, go check out my previous video, which is on how to answer inference questions. So you do an inference of purpose here. Basically, this thing, reliability based on purpose or source provenance, it essentially just is any ulterior motive. And then you use your inference of purpose method, of course, to craft this last part, and this part gives you the highest band in LOMS. So remember your target audience, your intended impact, your message. Those are the very, very important things that you have to include in your reliability based on purpose, because they are important things in inference of purpose. For purpose in reliability questions, CK to support purpose is not needed. So here's a sample response from me for when I'm doing the case study of Vietnam. So first I have the inference, you see that, and then after that I'm doing this source is reliable because of its factual and impassive account, and it's also reliable. So these two parts I'm doing reliability based on source content. And then afterwards, when I cross-refer to my contextual knowledge, you must always use these markers because the teachers will have to use these indicators, especially when they're very tired after marking many scripts, right? So they need to use these. So you need to use these indicators for them to know what you're doing, which is cross-referring, so that you can get a higher band. Yeah, and then so I'm doing cross-refer to my contextual knowledge. This part, cross-referring to another source. And you realize that I always say reliable in stating the French were defeated in the First Indochina War because of their military weakness. So I'm doing this to remind myself what inference am I checking. And then you must say whether, of course, is it reliable or not. Specifics, details, you must make sure you include them. Now, this part is the source provenance thing. So you can just take a look by yourself. Inform, this is the active verb. Is rather passive because there's no ulterior motive. And then you can include a bit of your contextual knowledge. A bit will do. Sometimes you just have to see the situation and act accordingly. Okay, so that's the end of today's episode. So thanks for tuning in, and the next episode of the Handling History series will be on how to answer utility questions, basically usefulness questions for lower sec. See you then. To buy comprehensive notes of lower sec history content and answering techniques, head over to Carousel at The Daydreamer and PM me with the discount code in bold here to get a $5 discount. See you then.